Razer wants you to find your flow state with their newest chair, the Fujin Pro. This chair follows the trend of tech brands trying to blend the comfort of an office chair with the flash and features that gamers are looking for. This trend, thankfully, is moving away from racing-style bucket seats and moving towards more adjustable chairs. There are 3 key questions we need to answer about the Fujin Pro. Does it follow through on its claim of giving you complete freedom of movement? Is it comfortable enough to sit in for an extended period? And finally, is it reasonably priced for what it offers? Now, before we get into the Razer, I want to share with you our office chair cheat sheet. Just check out the link in the description below. As I start unboxing the chair, I'm immediately getting good vibes when it comes to build quality. And if you're wondering, the gloves came inside the box, so I figured why not? The weight of the arms was my first clue to the build quality. Now, heavy doesn't always equate good build quality, but in this case, the aluminum alloy frame felt premium. The assembly process was a bit extensive, but the instructions were easy to follow. I was very impressed with how well packaged all of the parts were. Recently, Greg was disappointed to find scuffs on his Cougar Terminator chair because of loose items moving around in the box. This is unlikely to happen with the Razer. They have individually packaged each part nicely. The value proposition comes down to more than just build quality, but so far I've been very impressed with what you get for the money. Now that the chair is together, it's time to give it the first sit test.
Feels pretty good.
As you can see, I initially found it comfortable, but we've definitely found that the showroom test doesn't always match up with long-term testing. So I'll give you some first impressions of the comfort here, but I'll save my full comfort review for a later video. One thing that immediately stood out to me was that it feels very upright, but it doesn't really look like it. The middle part of your back tends to push forward.
Here, it's very strong. So it's like it pushes the middle part of your back forward.
Now with some adjustments, I was able to get it more comfortable. Mostly just cranking up the lumbar to balance out where the lower and the mid back support lies. Adjustable lumbar on a gaming chair is a huge plus. The wide back does allow for some freedom of movement, but I'm not ready to say that Razer fulfills its promise here. As I worked my way through the chair, the next thing that stood out to me was the arm pad design. The pads have some very nice cushioning, something that I always expect to see when testing a $1,000 plus chair, but I don't always see. The irony here is that Razer's Isker chair has the exact same arm pads and adjustments, and the Isker is a $500 bucket-style gaming chair that we recently rated F tier in our 2024 gaming chair tier list. I could never recommend the Isker chair to anyone, mostly because of its ridiculous lumbar, but the arms are a good feature. The slope design and slippery surface initially made me feel like I couldn't keep my arms in the right place. But after more testing with a different shirt on, I realized this wasn't a big problem. The 4-way adjustment gives you a decent range of height, depth, width, and pivot. The width adjustment was a little finicky, but maybe I just needed to break it in. So far, the back and arms are making me think this is a chair I can be comfortable in for long hours. But I have to take a real close look at the seat. It is so difficult to make a comfortable mesh seat. Most of the top ergonomic chair companies have tried, and even they struggle to design a mesh seat that is universally liked, or even sittable. I can only go off my first impressions, but I can already see signs of some of the common mesh chair problems. Mesh seats tend to be very firm, and a solution to this problem is to make the mesh less tight so that you can sink into it. Unfortunately, the sinking becomes a new source of issues, including putting more pressure on your tailbone. You also will start to feel the hard frame on the edges of the seat if you stray from the middle. This makes the Fujin seat not ideal for movement, as you're forced to stay more centered in the chair. I can already see that the Fujin suffers from these issues at a certain degree, but only a long sit test will tell if these are deal breakers. Getting back to something that adds a lot of value that I think gamers will appreciate, a highly adjustable headrest. I use the word think because I'm not really a gamer. And when I do game, I'm sitting at the edge of my seat hoping some 9-year-old doesn't kill me in Fortnite. So while I struggle to relax and use a headrest, I know that when you're gaming for hours, it can really help. It's not going to take me hours of testing to decide this one. Razer crushed it when designing a headrest for the Fujin Pro. With 3 different adjustments, it's easy to get the headrest positioned in the correct spot, even at my height of 6'2". Personally, I love a headrest that fits into the curve of my neck, rather than a pad that my head rests against. Now, the one downside I can see with the headrest is that the mesh does have the tendency to catch your hair a little bit, but I really have to move my head around and almost try to make this happen. The Fujin Pro doesn't give off strong gaming vibes look-wise. It's up to you to decide if that's a feature or a miss. With other tech brands going over the top in some ways, like the Asus ROG Destrier or the Cougar Terminator, I'm happy to see this more subtle design. If anything, the Fujin looks more similar to an office chair. It even gives off steel case Carmen vibes, which I consider to be one of the best looking office chairs I've ever seen. The small Razer badge is the only thing that defines this as a gaming chair, although I know many gamers will appreciate the all-mesh design as it helps to dissipate heat. This follows through on Razer's claim that it offers true breathability, and the chair is aptly named after the Japanese god and Mortal Kombat character Fujin, the Wind God. I'd consider the Fujin Pro an ergonomic office chair from a gaming products company, and that's a compliment, not a slight. So does it have the design and features to compete as a top gaming chair? The features are definitely there, and the unique design makes it well suited to both the professional office, but also style to match any gaming decor. I can't confidently answer if it's comfortable for long hours of sitting. That will require more hours in the chair. But what I can say is that the feature set, build quality, and design meet my expectations for a $1,000 chair. If you can already tell the Fujin Pro isn't right for you, remember to check out our office chair cheat sheet in the description below.